I'm going to be giving you my 2017 Penn State football predictions. I already know I gave you my Big Ten and my Penn State Akron preview. So now I'm going to get into the game-by-game schedule breakdown. So as they start off with Akron. Should be a pretty easy win, like what I said in my preview. I got Penn State 45-17 in that one. Not really too much to say in that one. Then week 2 they get Pitt home. This game scares me a little bit more just because it's Pitt, and Pitt will be looking for this game. You know, if they can beat Penn State a second year in a row, especially as Penn State being as good as they are, or as highly rated as they are, they're going to be drooling over this one. I think Pitt might be able to keep it close for a little while, but Pitt did lose a good amount of talent, and I think Penn State's just been recruited. The last 4 recruiting classes, Penn State's recruited better. They're more experienced, and I just think it's going to, and as a home game, I think Penn State should be able to win this game. I got them 38-24, but Pitt could win that game, especially if Penn State, isn't starting the year. If they're starting the year like how they did last year, this game could be much closer than it appears it might be. Then the next week they got Georgia State. Should be a pretty easy one. I have 49-7. I don't really think Georgia State will give them any real hard time. So now we're moving on to the 4th game. I have them 3-0. At Iowa. This is an interesting one. People are saying Iowa's can beat Penn State. Dangerous things happen in Kinnick. And I believe that, and I think Iowa can beat Penn State. But it would take a lot more than people think. It would take them shutting down Penn State, shutting down Barkley, McSorley having a bad game, the receivers not getting hot, them getting pressure on McSorley. And, a lot of that, really, I can't really see that happening. And I was going to need Penn State to only put up like under 25, because if Penn State puts up anything more than that, probably, I don't think Iowa's going to be able to put up that much. They got a new quarterback, they got a good running back, maybe they can bounce out a little bit, but I think as the game goes on, I think Penn State will be able to figure Iowa out offensively, and Penn State will be able to start to expose whatever unit Iowa isn't focusing on. So in that one, I have Penn State 34-21 in a game that Penn State's going to gradually pull away in. Then the next week, they get Indiana at home. Indiana's not a bad team. I think they're a good team. But the fact that it's home, I'm not really quite as scared. I don't really think Indiana could beat them. Indiana almost beat them last year. But the thing was, Indiana was just stopping Barkley, and once Penn State figured it out, the game Penn State was just killing Indiana for that rest of the game. And I think Indiana's got an okay quarterback. He's a good quarterback. He's got a good arm. Indiana moves a very fast-paced offense, but I think that they're going to wear themselves into the ground in this game, and I think Penn State will be able to figure him out. He's going to have a couple picks probably. He's kind of a gunslinger. I think Penn State will be able to pull away in a game that really won't be as close as it sounds. I think Penn State wins 41-24. Then they get Northwestern at Northwestern. This game really scares me, I think, a little bit. I feel confident that Penn State would win. I would still pick them, but Penn State could easily lose this game. I think Northwestern can put up enough points on Penn State to be able to win a game. If they can keep Penn State off balance, especially with that running game, it could be trouble. Penn State's defense is good, but it's not great, especially at the linebacker, and the front four needs to be seen good. And I think Northwestern this game might be going back and forth. Noon, Penn State might be down, need to wake up. But I do think Penn State will inevitably come up with a close win. I think 34-31. And again, it's going to be very close, and it's going to be a big game for Penn State. Then they get Michigan after a bye week. Whiteout, home game, revenge. I think everything points to a Penn State win here. And I think Michigan's very inexperienced. Penn State's getting a lot of starters back. I think Penn State will be able to get a win here. I think Michigan's defense won't be bad, but it won't be as good as it was last year. And defensively, I think Penn State should be able to lock down at least okay on Michigan. And I got Penn State here 35-24. If this wasn't a whiteout and if it was at Michigan, I might be picking Michigan, actually. But I think Penn State's just got the advantage there. Now they got at Ohio State. I think Ohio State is going to be a tough one for them. I think Penn State is as good of a football team. I don't like when people say Ohio State's better because I don't really know why you would say that. But Ohio State is home. They're coming off a bye week. Everything points to an Ohio State win here, and I think I'm gonna have to take. I think I'm gonna have to give Penn State an L here, and I'm gonna say it's 41-34 in a shootout kind of game. Ohio State's up all game. Penn State's kind of cutting it back, but they just never get it enough, and they don't get that big play that they got last year. Then we have Michigan State. Michigan State wasn't a very good team last year, but I think they will be able to step it up and make some plays against Penn State, but I just don't think it's going to be enough. I think Penn State's offense will be able to dominate the game, and I think Michigan State's offense is still in a work in progress. I got Penn State 38-17. And then Rutgers, I think Penn State should be able to cruise by Rutgers 45-7. Rutgers just, I don't think, is there yet, and until I see them do anything good, I'm going to keep that pick. Nebraska isn't a bad team, but it's a home game. There's not much of a big incentive. Probably Nebraska will be probably mediocre in the conference at this point, and I think Penn State should be able to get a good sizable win. I have them winning this one 35-21. Where Nebraska can put up a few amount of points, but it's not going to be enough to beat Penn State. Then in the last game, I got Maryland. I think Maryland might be able to give Penn State more of a run than some people might think. But at the end of the day, Maryland's defense isn't very good, and their offense isn't all that great either. I have Penn State in this one 45-21. And that caps off the season 11-1. I think Ohio State will lose to Wisconsin in the Big Ten Championship, and Penn State will go into the playoff. And from there on, I don't know who they could be playing. Maybe Alabama, Oklahoma State, USC, any of those kind of teams. Clemson, Florida State, all those kind of teams. So I got Penn State 11-1 in the regular season. I don't really think this team will be able to go undefeated, but don't be surprised if they do. But they could lose to like Northwestern. They could lose to Michigan. They could lose to Iowa. Maybe they could lose to Nebraska. They could lose to Pitt. I think this team should be at least 9-3. At 9-3 at worst, maybe they fall Ohio State. Maybe they get upset by Iowa and Northwestern, and maybe Michigan too. So maybe 8-4, 9-3 at the worst, and I think 12-0 at the best. Maybe 10-2. 10-2 or 11-1. I was going back and forth on that Northwestern game, but I decided 11-1 and then go optimistic. Should be a good year. Should be a fun year. We'll see how it goes with tomorrow's game against Akron. Peace out, guys.